There is a letter that has been written for you. It was written before you knew it was being written. It has been sitting sealed in a place where time does not move the way it moves in our lives, waiting for the day it would become readable. That day has come. Today, in this reading, I am going to open the letter with you line by line, and we are going to discover together what it says. I do not know everything it contains. I am being given pieces of it as I go. But I can already tell you that the letter is good news. And I can tell you that the good news has your name on it in a handwriting so familiar it is almost embarrassing to admit you recognize it. The handwriting is your own. The letter was written by the part of you that has always known where you were going. The first line of the letter says this: "The waiting is over." I am going to repeat that because most people, when they hear words like this, do not let them actually land. Their nervous systems are too accustomed to waiting to release the posture of waiting just because someone tells them they can. So let it land slowly. The waiting is over, not the work, not the living, not the becoming, the waiting. That particular interior state of pausing your own life until something else happens, that internal hovering that you have been doing for longer than you can remember, that is the thing that has reached its conclusion. You are allowed to step down from the watchtower now. The thing you were watching for has come into view. The second line of the letter is a question, and I want you to sit with it before I tell you the answer that is also written there. The question is, what would you do if you stopped doubting that you were going to win? Just sit with that for a moment. Notice what shifts in your body when you genuinely consider the question. Most of us live with a quiet, low-grade doubt about whether the things we want are actually going to come to us. It runs underneath everything we do. We work, but we do not work like winners. We hope, but we hope conservatively, in the way someone hopes who has prepared themselves for disappointment. The question this letter is asking is, what would your life look like if the doubt was simply not there? Not pushed aside, not overcome, just absent. The answer the letter gives in its own time is this: your life would look the way your life is about to look, because the doubt has run its course. Doubt has a half-life, like everything else. It does not last forever. Whatever life experience created the doubt in you has now been counterbalanced by enough other experience that the doubt no longer has the structural support it used to have. It is collapsing under its own weight. You may not have noticed the collapse because it happens internally in private on a schedule that does not announce itself, but the collapse is well underway. You are no longer the person who doubted. You are becoming the person who knows. And the person who knows attracts what they know is coming. I want to slow down here because the third line of the letter contains something I do not want you to miss. The third line says, "You have already been chosen." Past tense. Already. This is one of the most important parts of what is being delivered to you. The choosing did not just happen. The choosing happened earlier than you realize. The reason your life has felt the way it has felt, the particular trajectory you have been on, the specific challenges and the specific gifts and the specific people who have appeared and disappeared, all of it was in service of the win that is now arriving. The choosing came first. The unfolding has been the slow revelation of what the choosing meant. You have not been auditioning. You have been preparing for a role that was already cast in your name. This is not a new idea, but it lands differently when you apply it specifically to your own life. Most people accept the abstract concept that things might be unfolding for a reason. Far fewer people accept that this concept applies to them in the actual texture of their actual day-to-day. You have been an exception in a way you have not always been able to see. Your life has carried a particular quality of preparation, even in its most apparently random moments. Things you assumed were detours were actually necessary segments of a path you could not see the full shape of. You were never as off track as you sometimes feared. You were on a track that did not look like a track, because tracks of this nature do not always run in straight lines. The fourth line of the letter is shorter, and it is delivered with a kind of warmth I want to convey. It says, "We are proud of you." The "we" is interesting. I do not always know who the "we" is when these letters come through. Sometimes it is a sense of ancestral presence. Sometimes it is the part of the universe that pays attention to specific lives. Sometimes it is some combination that does not have a clean name. What I can tell you is that the pride being expressed is real, and it is for you specifically, not for what you have produced, not for what you have achieved, for who you have become while no one was looking. The becoming was the work. The producing and achieving are merely the visible exhaust of the becoming. The "we" sees who you are, and the "we" is proud, and the wind that is coming is in some way an expression of that pride being made tangible. Welcome to Cancer Tarot, where the readings I bring forward are not invented but received, and the one I am receiving for you now is one I want to deliver with the care it deserves. Some readings come through quickly. This one is asking to come through carefully. Stay with me. There is no need to rush. The unfolding is more meaningful when it is given room to breathe. The fifth line of the letter says, "You are about to recognize yourself." This is one of the most beautiful gifts of any major win. There is a moment after a long-awaited thing finally arrives when you look at yourself in some unremarkable surface, a window or a mirror or a screen reflecting your face back at you, and you see, for the first time in a very long time, the person you actually are. Not the person you have been performing, not the person you have been apologizing for being, the actual person, the one you forgot you were while you were busy surviving. That recognition is going to come for you. It is not the win itself. It is something better than the win. It is the byproduct of the win. The win clears enough of the noise that you can see your own face again. This is hard to describe to someone who has not experienced it, but I will try. When you have been working hard in obscurity, performing roles that did not quite fit, accommodating circumstances that compressed you into smaller shapes than your true shape, you forget what your true shape feels like. You become unfamiliar to yourself. The familiarity returns when conditions ease, when the pressure releases, when suddenly there is room around you again. You are about to encounter that room, and in that room, your true shape is going to remember itself. You will catch yourself laughing differently. You will notice your shoulders sitting at a height they have not sat at in years. You will hear your own voice in a casual remark and think, "Oh, there I am. There is the sound of me." That moment of self-recognition is one of the deepest medicines a life can receive. I want to tell you something about jackpots, because the title of this reading uses that word, and I want to make sure we mean the same thing by it. A jackpot, in the popular imagination, is a single dramatic event, a number called a wheel landing, a door opening with a flourish of trumpets. The actual phenomenon of a jackpot win in a life is closer to this. There is a quiet day in which several things happen in succession that do not initially seem extraordinary. A phone call, a piece of mail, a conversation, a document. By the end of that quiet day, your life has changed, but the change has happened so smoothly that you find yourself surprised by how undramatic the actual mechanics were. Drama is what happens to onlookers. Recipients tend to experience these things in slow motion, with a kind of reverent calm, as though they had walked into a room they did not realize they had a key to. This is the kind of jackpot that is approaching, not a movie scene, a real one. The realness of it is going to be one of the most striking things about it. You are going to keep waiting in the moment of receiving for the experience to feel as big as you have always assumed these moments would feel. The experience will feel quieter than that. Quieter and somehow truer. The bigness will come later, when you look back and see the magnitude of what was set in motion that day. In the moment, you will mostly feel a soft, almost stunned sense that something significant has just happened. Trust that feeling. Do not require it to perform like a celebration scene. Real wins often feel more like exhales than fireworks. The sixth line of the letter, which I am still receiving as I speak to you, says, "The people around you are going to surprise you." There is going to be a redistribution of relationships in the wake of what is coming. Some people who you assumed would be celebrating with you are going to have surprisingly complicated reactions. Not bad necessarily, just complicated. The way someone reacts to your win tells you something true about the underlying nature of their connection to you. People who love you cleanly will be uncomplicated in their joy. People whose connection to you was tangled with elements of comparison or quiet resentment will reveal those tangles in their reactions. Notice these revelations without judgment. They are useful information. They will help you sort gently and without drama who is going to come with you into the next chapter and who has been ready for some time to drift away. But there is also a beautiful part of this redistribution. Some people will surprise you in the other direction. People you did not expect to be moved will be deeply moved. People whose support you had not realized you had will become visible to you. There will be small gestures, perhaps from unexpected sources, that land with disproportionate impact. A note, a message, a look that holds more than you expected. These quiet acknowledgments from unexpected places are going to mean as much to you as the win itself, and in some cases more. Allow yourself to receive them fully. They are part of the gift. They are evidence of how widely your life has been touching others without your knowledge. The seventh line of the letter speaks about what you do not yet know. It says, "There are pieces of your good fortune that you cannot currently imagine." This is one of the most important things in the entire letter, so I want to make sure I deliver it well. Your imagination has limits, like everyone's imagination does. Your imagination is shaped by the experiences you have had, the people you have known, the contexts you have moved through. When you imagine your win, you imagine it in terms that make sense within those limits. The actual win is going to exceed those limits in at least one significant direction. There is a dimension of what is coming that you are not currently picturing because you do not yet have the conceptual material to picture it. When that dimension reveals itself, you will recognize it as part of the answer, but you will also realize you had not even thought to ask for it. This is one of the kindest things the universe does. It includes elements in our gifts that we did not know to want. It anticipates needs we have not articulated. It addresses longings we have buried so deeply we forgot we had them. The unanticipated dimension of your win is going to feel almost personal, in a way that is hard to describe. As though someone who knew you very well had been listening to all the things you said and all the things you did not quite say and had assembled a response that addressed both. That assembled response is what is approaching. Stay open to surprise. The most meaningful parts of the win are likely to come from angles you would not have predicted. The eighth line of the letter is short and a little strange, but I am going to deliver it as I receive it. It says, "You can stop performing now." Performing for who, you might ask. The answer, I think, is performing for everyone. For the people who needed you to be a certain way, for them to feel comfortable, for the systems that required you to translate yourself into terms they could process, for the version of yourself that learned somewhere along the way that being legible to others was a survival skill. The win that is coming is going to give you enough room to stop translating. You will be able to be yourself in your actual idiom without first converting yourself into a more palatable version. This is one of the most underrated gifts of having enough. It is not just that you have resources, it is that you have permission. The two are connected, but the second is in some ways the more meaningful one. I want to address something very specific that I am sensing in your field. There has been a recent moment when you almost gave up. I do not know exactly when. It may have been days ago. It may have been weeks. There was a moment when something inside you said, maybe none of this is going to happen. Maybe I've been telling myself stories. Maybe it is time to lower my expectations and accept a smaller life. That moment was real. It was painful. Even if it passed quickly, I want you to know that the moment was not a failure of faith. It was the last gasp of an old pattern breaking down so that the new pattern could move in. People who never almost give up rarely receive what is coming for you. The almost giving up is part of the threshold. You walked up to it and you looked over the edge and you turned around and walked back. That turning around was not weakness. It was a particular kind of integrity that the universe recognizes and rewards. The ninth line of the letter speaks about timing. It says, the timing of this win is more precise than you realize. There are many things that had to happen first in your life and in the lives of others in order for this to land in the way it is now landing. Some of those things were obvious. Some of them were happening to people you do not know personally, in places you have never been, for reasons that have nothing to do with you on the surface. The web of timing is complex. The good news is that you do not have to understand it. You only have to recognize, as the win unfolds, that nothing about it is accidental. The exact moment, the exact form, the exact channel through which it arrives, all of these have been calibrated. You are receiving something that was assembled with precision. This precision is one of the reasons it is going to last. Lottery wins, in the casual sense of the term, often do not last. Money arrives, but the conditions for keeping it have not been built. People who win in that way often find themselves a few years later in approximately the financial situation they were in before the win, with some additional emotional complications. What is coming for you is not that kind of win. It is built on a foundation that includes your character, your maturity, your relationships, your capacity for stewardship. The win is going to integrate. It is going to become part of the structure of your life rather than a temporary disruption to it. You can rely on it. I want to bring through from Cancer Tarot a particular reassurance about the question of whether you deserve this. Because somewhere in your reception of this message, the question is going to arise. Maybe not in those words. Maybe as a vague sense that you should do something to earn what is coming, or that you should preemptively give part of it away to balance the karmic books, or that you should find some way to qualify for what has been freely offered. I want to address that. The question of deserving is not a useful question here. The win is not coming because you deserve it in the moralistic sense. It is also not coming because you do not. It is coming because the conditions have aligned, because a long arc has come around, because the universe is delivering an outcome that was set in motion long before you started thinking about whether you qualified for it. The qualifying is not your job. The receiving is. The 10th line of the letter is one I want to deliver gently. It says, you are allowed to be happy. This sounds like such a simple thing. But for some people, and you may be one of them, happiness has a complicated relationship with permission. There are people who, having grown up in environments where joy was rationed or interrupted or punished, never fully give themselves over to being happy, even when conditions support it. They remain on guard, even in good moments, watching for the catch, listening for the other shoe. I want to tell you, with as much directness as I can, that there is no other shoe coming. There is no catch waiting in the wings. The good is the good. It is allowed to be uncomplicated. You are allowed to enjoy it. You are allowed to laugh out loud. You are allowed to tell people the truth about how good things are. You are allowed to celebrate without immediately couching the celebration in qualifications. The celebration is permitted. It is, in fact, encouraged. I want to take a moment to address a particular dynamic that may come up. After a major positive shift, some people feel a strange sadness in addition to the joy. They cannot quite explain it. The joy is real, but underneath it, there is a quiet grief. This grief is, I think, the natural response to looking back and seeing how long the difficult chapter lasted. When you are inside hard times, you do not always allow yourself to fully feel how hard they are, because feeling them fully would be too overwhelming when you still have to function. Once the hard times end, sometimes the unfelt feelings catch up. If this happens for you in the wake of the win, do not interpret it as a sign that something is wrong. It is simply the integration. The grief that did not have permission to be felt before is finding its window now. Let it move through, it will pass. And on the other side of it, the joy will feel more spacious than ever. There is something specific I am being shown about the timing right after the win. Something about the first few days. There is going to be a kind of dreamlike quality to those days, a sense of slight unreality, as though you are watching your own life from a small distance. Do not worry about this. It is normal. The mind takes time to update its model of reality after a major shift. During those first few days, do not make any major secondary decisions. Let the dust settle. Let your nervous system catch up. The decisions can come later. The first few days are for absorbing, not for executing. Walk through them with a kind of soft attentiveness, gathering data, noticing what has changed and what has not. Trust that you will know what to do next, but you do not have to know it yet. There is a person who is going to come to mind very strongly when the win arrives, maybe more than one, someone you want to tell, someone whose voice you want to hear in response to your news. Pay attention to who that person is. Their emergence in your mind in that moment is meaningful. It is your heart pointing at the people who are most truly yours. You may discover in the moment of wanting to tell them who has been carrying you in their thoughts, even when you did not know they were. The instinct to share good news with specific people is one of the most reliable indicators of the structure of your inner circle. Trust who shows up in that mental shortlist. I want to talk about the long view for a moment. The win that is coming is going to look, in the immediate term, like a destination. After everything you have been through, of course, it is going to feel like the place you have been heading toward. And it is. But it is also a beginning. A few months from now, or maybe a year, you are going to look back at the win and see it less as the end of something and more as the start of a longer chapter. This longer chapter contains things you cannot yet see. New work, new relationships, new problems even, better problems, the kind of problems that come from having more rather than less. The kind of problems that, while still problems, are far more interesting to solve than the problems you have been solving. You will have those problems. They will be welcome. I am bringing this letter toward its closing. And the next line says something that I find moving. It says, "You will become someone other people pray to be." I want to handle this gently because it could be misread. I do not mean that you are going to become arrogant or that other people are going to envy you. I mean something quieter. There are people in this world who, by virtue of how they have lived and what they have integrated, become small inspirations to the people around them. People look at them and think that is what is possible. You are about to become one of those people in your own circle, in your own way, without trying to be an example, without performing. The example will simply emerge as a natural byproduct of you having received and integrated what is coming. Your living of your life post-win is going to teach the people around you things they could not have been taught any other way. This is the final stretch of what I have been given for you, and the last line of the letter speaks directly. It says, "Breathe. You have arrived." The arrival is not in the future. The arrival is now. You are inside the moment you have been waiting for, even if the visible part of it has not fully announced itself yet. The waiting has ended. You are inside the answer. The answer is in the process of revealing itself to your conscious mind, but at the level of the unseen, the answer is already complete. You are not looking for it anymore. You are inside it. Whatever still needs to materialize externally is materializing. Your job has changed. Your job is no longer to seek. Your job is to be present to what is arriving. This is Cancer Tarot signing off this particular transmission, and what I want you to take with you is not a series of details to remember, but a state of being to occupy. The state of being is one of receptive readiness, not anxious anticipation, not skeptical bracing, receptive readiness, the posture of someone who has done their part and is now allowing the rest. You are allowed to relax into this. You are allowed to trust it. You are allowed to begin today to live as though the win has happened. Because in the dimension where these things are decided, it has. Notice in the next stretch of your days how things are starting to come together with less effort than they used to require. Notice the small confirmations. Notice the conversations that feel slightly easier. Notice the moments when something works out without you having to push it. These are not coincidences. They are evidence. They are the leading edge of the wave that is about to cover your life. Each small confirmation is a chip placed on the table by the universe, indicating that more is coming. You can count the chips. You can let them accumulate into a sense of certainty. The certainty is earned. The certainty is correct. And on the day when the visible win arrives, when you receive the news, when the form of it materializes in a way you can hold and touch and tell people about, I want you to do something for me and for yourself. Take a moment, even just a brief one, to acknowledge the version of you who held on long enough to be here, the version who almost gave up but did not, the version who kept showing up to a life that was not yet rewarding the showing up. That version did the work. That version deserves to be thanked by you in the moment of receiving. A quiet word of acknowledgement, a small inner bow. The version of you that earned this is owed the recognition. Give it to that version, even briefly, and the integration will deepen. You are about to win the kind of win that does not unwind, the kind of win that becomes part of the foundation of who you are. The kind of win that years from now you will reference casually, the way people reference major chapters of their own stories, with a mixture of gratitude and quiet wonder. That casual reference in the future comes from the moment that is now arriving. You are entering the chapter that future you will look back on with fondness. Live it well. Receive it well. Let it be as good as it actually is. The letter is now closed. I have given you what was given to me. The rest is between you and what is unfolding. Trust it, move with it. Let yourself be carried by the rhythm of the arrival rather than the rhythm of the search. The search is over. The arrival is what is happening now. Open your hands. Open your awareness. Open the door of your life to what is walking up the path. It has your name on it. It has had your name on it for longer than you know. It is finally close enough to read the name and confirm. It reads, it is you. It has always been you. Welcome home. The waiting was real, and the work was real, and the doubts were real, and the almost giving ups were real. All of it counted. None of it was wasted. The accumulation was the apprenticeship, and the apprenticeship is now complete. What follows is the chapter you trained for. Step into it without flinching. You are ready. The ready was the last thing that needed to fall into place, and it has fallen. You are exactly where you need to be, exactly when you need to be there, with exactly the qualities required to receive what has been prepared. There is no more for you to do except to allow it. Allow it, allow it, allow it, and let yourself finally be the one for whom good things happen, because that is who you have been all along, even when the evidence was thin. The evidence is now thickening. The truth of who you are is becoming visible. The win is the beginning of that visibility. There will be more. For now, let this be enough. Let this much be enough to soften something inside you that has been hard for too long. The softening is the win behind the win, and it is yours. You have arrived. The jackpot has your name. The waiting was the path, and the path has ended at exactly where it was meant to lead. Receive it. It is here.